Jack and I have been doing a Wednesday meditation since we got into reading Edgar Casey's book on There's a River and Many Mansions, and we just tried to find an ARE, which is Association Research Enlightenment in New York City, and that was the whole start of meditation. The food of life. You begin to really know what you're supposed to do with your life once you start meditating, and it just does really. We're all here with a purpose, and you do really get into what your purpose is. That's all I can say. So we're going to do a call and response. I'm going to call, and I hope you respond. This plant is taking my shade. Okay, now I got light. Now I got a branch in my head. Okay, bye-bye. Thank you. Speak with the mouth of God. Love with the heart of God. Walk with the feet of God. Sing with the voice of God. Live in heaven, here and now. Live in heaven, here and now. Heaven, heaven, heaven. Dance with the soul of God. Breathe with the air of God. Walk with the grace of God. Think with the heart of God. Live in heaven, here and now. Live in heaven, here and now. Heaven, heaven, heaven. Hear the words of God. Never ever fear God. Breathe the air of God. Feel the love of God. Live in heaven, here and now. Live in heaven, here and now. Heaven, heaven. Speak with the mouth of God. Love with the heart of God. Sing with the voice of God. Sing with the voice of God. Live in heaven, here and now. Live in heaven, here and now. Heaven, heaven. Om, Om. Do it with me. Om. Om. Speak with the mouth of God. Love with the heart of God. Walk with the feet of God. Sing with the voice of God. Live in heaven, here and now. Live in heaven.
Good evening, everyone. Many years ago, when Norm and I were first married, we lived in New York City. We were both of us aspiring thespians. I was an aspiring writer, and she was an aspiring actress, singer, dancer. And we had just gotten married. We hadn't been married too long when we went on a trip to the New Jersey seashore. So we were in a car and we drove down to the New Jersey seashore, spent the day at the beach. We had a lunch with us, and then we headed back sometime in the late afternoon. And we had to come back on this highway that was 4 lanes and an island. In other words, there was this island with grass and some trees or shrubs on it, but there were 2 lanes on either side of it, and it was a very busy highway. On that particular day, at that time, the traffic slowed down because there was an accident, and we were held up in traffic. And as we looked over on this island, we saw a very strange looking animal. And I said, "What is that?" to Norma. "What is that?" She said, I think it's a dog." And we looked and looked, and finally we got a better look at it. It was a basset hound, and it was obviously starving to death. It had been shrunken. Its body was simply bones, and it had this huge head. So I pulled off onto the island, and we had a sandwich or 2 left. I think they were tuna fish sandwiches, and I went out, and I tried to approach this dog. He was terrified of me. I couldn't call him to me. He wouldn't come to get the food. So I just took pieces of the sandwich and I threw it out to him. And of course he gobbled it up, each piece. So understanding that, I went back to the car and I got a rope. And I took the sandwich and I was throwing it out for him to eat, and he gobbled up each piece I threw out. And I keep throwing them closer and closer till he was close enough for me to throw a loop around him. So I threw a loop around his head and I lassoed him, and then I went and picked him up, put him under my... He wasn't vicious. He didn't try to bite me, but he was terrified, and he was whimpering and crying, almost yelling. And I carried him to the car, and we took him home. And when we got home, we had already stopped at the market, and we got a couple of cans of dog food, but we didn't give him any because we knew he had been starving. How long he had been on that island and how long he had been deserted, I do not know, but he was just bones. And so we had some milk and some water we put down for him at first, and he was lapping up the milk, and he was so tired, so weak, that his eyes would almost start to close, and whenever his nose would hit the floor, he'd open his eyes again to see where we were. He was living in total fear. Whoever had him must have abused him and then finally threw him out and on that island. I don't know how he couldn't have gotten there any other way, because that traffic just runs through. There's no houses or anything on the sides. It's just a super highway. So we were slowly bringing him back and feeding him dog food and trying to get him to not feel so afraid of us. And then finally we got around to petting him a little bit. But he was always very, very shy, very suspect of humans. And we had to go away because I had rented a cabin in upstate New York. I was given the first payment to write a screenplay. Not a lot of money for a screenplay, maybe $8,000 or $10,000. I think it was $10,000 for the first draft. That's unheard of. Today, you couldn't pay a writer to do that. But back then, I was just struggling and starting out, so I got $10,000, and I wrote, and I rented a small cabin in upper New York State where we went in the summer, where I was going to write this screenplay. And I had an electric typewriter. It was on the table, and it was plugged in, and we had an extension cord that ran down into the fuse box, into the outlet. And while we were there, just once Happy, which was his first name we gave him, started eating, he ate everything. I mean, he didn't just choose shoes, he would eat them. And you had to keep everything off the floor. So when we had him in this cabin, they didn't know we had a dog. I think you came here for a spiritual message. If I get to one, it'll be interesting. But you have to know this about Happy. He ate everything. And when we were up in this tiny little cabin, we were across the stream from this lodge where other people, they had like, 20 rooms of people over there. But we had this tiny cabin on this side of the stream. And I don't know how Beastie got out. We finally had to call him Beastie because he was eating everything. He's like a beast. And one day, the owner of the cabin, the lodge, said, "You guys better be careful. We think there's a bear in the area." I said, oh, really? He said, yeah. It broke into our milk box and it just destroyed, 3 huge quarts of milk and even tore up a cushion. It looked like it ate some of this cushion. So we not told. But we knew already that it was Happy that did it. And I didn't realize how he could have gotten out, but what happened was the screen on the screen door, he had broken through it. And we didn't notice it because the screen came back, just flipped back on. And so he came back in, and he was in the cabin when the owner of the lodge came over. And so while we were there, we were being very careful, trying to take care of him and not to get him so, he was just crazy. He was afraid and eating his way into oblivion. I was writing on the typewriter just as Happy grabbed the extension cord and outlet that the typewriter was plugged into. He grabbed it in his mouth and then just screamed and couldn't let it go. And I reached down and I yanked the thing out of his mouth. And he just started screaming and ran into the other room. And after that, he would not come near me. Not ever again. I could not pet that dog. He wouldn't come near me. Because he somehow related the terrible experience he had with me when I ripped it out of his mouth. And so he lived in total fear of me, and we had to do something. So Norma could still get to him in some ways and feed him, but he wouldn't even come in the same room with me. And so when we got back to the city, we called Norma's aunt, who lived in Syracuse, New York, and we asked her if she'd be all right taking him in. And she had a yard. She said, oh, okay. So we gave him to the aunt. But the fear that poor creature had from the beginning was something I reflected on back when I was in the ministry. See, in our ministry, we learned that love is letting go of fear. And to the degree that you can eliminate fear in your awareness, to that degree you'll be open to feel the presence of love. And what really happens is, when we come into this three-dimensional world, we're born into a physical life. And the perception of that idea of being a physical body leads to the impression that we are separate from everything we see and everyone we see. We're separate from every other person and every other thing. And we naturally have concerns about our personal well-being. So we grow up, we have to be careful and concerned that somebody's not going to run us over, or someone's not going to steal from us, or someone's not going to do something that we fear and are terrified of. And so we grow up in fear. And letting go of fear is not that easy, because we're conditioned to actually believe in this idea of being strictly a physical body in a world of separate physical phenomena. And the whole concept is referred to in Eastern religions as the duality of death. In other words, as long as you're operating in duality, which is the illusion of being separate from everything you look upon, you are on the road to death. You live death because you haven't been able to make the connection that brings you to that feeling of oneness. So that somewhere along the way, in growing up, becoming adults, we may recognize that the scientific concept of separation being the foundation for our thinking is not true. And we have to somehow or other try to find a way to live more effectively, and sometimes someone will give us a book, but it seems like the universe is set up to meet you when you're ready, to be open to the possibility that you're not strictly a separate physical body in a world of separate phenomena. And having done that, you're invested in the idea of your ego, and you're trying to be recognized and considered and cared for, and from your ego, you'll do whatever you feel is necessary to gain those things that are going to fulfill your personal desires and expectations. It's a natural phenomenon, it's a natural part of life, but it is based on fear. And if you look, a person who is not into the work yet, or the spiritual understanding, looks at his or her life and realizes just about everything we do is motivated by some fear. And we've almost grown used to it. We've almost said, okay, but that's the way it is, you know. Everybody has this feeling of concern about being careful in life because you might be taken over, or you might be robbed, or you might be killed, or you might get sick, or you might die. And it all has to do with a body consciousness. So the antidote to this whole dilemma in the human experience is for us to somehow or other bring to mind another possibility, that we are not necessarily separated. It may appear that way, but the fact of the matter is that we are interconnected with everything we look upon. And that's where we run into the hurdles that we have to get over in our mind. In order to get over the hurdles of being a separate body mind in a world of separate phenomena, we have to take to task our own awareness. We have to practice catching ourselves when fear is in the driver's seat, And when fear is in the driver's seat, we are in that place where we are blaming conditions and people and circumstances that appear to be outside of us. And we don't recognize that we are complicit in whatever feelings we're having in our relationships with others and life in general. We don't recognize right off that it's because we are holding fear and that we are holding ideas of judgment and blame that are playing out in our relationships. And so we think, he should have known better. They should have known, but these people should be brought up on this. That person needs to be, taken away, and this person needs to be judged. Because we think that they're operating strictly separate and apart from my own consciousness. But that's not true. And I'll tell you just how not true it is. There are several masters who have been known and have written books, and I can't think of either one of their names right now. One of them is Phineas Quimby, and the other one, I don't get it. But he, in this person's presence, you couldn't be sick. In other words, if you went to have a meeting with this particular guru, spiritual guru, if you went in because you had some kind of illness or problem, as long as you were standing within 3 feet of this guy, you didn't have an illness. If you said, even if you came in and said, well, I have a fever, you'd say, no, you don't. And you check it and find out you don't have a fever. If you said, I have this going on, if you checked it, the doctor would check you at that moment, you would find out it's not there, because he did not believe in any of it. He so totally believed in the wholeness and beauty and majesty of your creation that when you were holding limited thoughts about yourself, your body, no matter what, you couldn't hold those thoughts in his presence. So, what we are coming down to is that in order for us to find a life truly worth living, we have to find a life of well-being. And to do that, it takes faith, because there's no way to figure it out because of our conditioning. The minds we grew up with are conditioned to believe in this illusion of separation. We've been conditioned to believe in the limitations and the fears and the germs and all the things that can happen to you on the path of life. But to get out of that, you have to say, maybe I could catch myself when I am having really strong negative feelings and thoughts, and come to recognize that I don't want to do this. I don't want to have these. And so I take an affirmation. For instance, you could go into the day one day and take an affirmation that you're going to use whenever you recognize that you're thinking negative thoughts about anybody, you're blaming something, or on top of this whole thing, you're trying to resolve some terrible thing that you feel is coming your way. Instead of doing that, you take an affirmation in that day, and when this starts to happen and you catch yourself and say, no, I could see peace instead of this. I could feel peace instead of this if I'm willing to forgive it. If I can let it go, I could be at peace. The only reason why I'm not at peace is because I'm thinking that this is a terrible thing and I don't want to be part of it. But if I kind of catch myself in doing that and say, but what if I were to forgive it and bless it and move away from it? It's not to say that something's coming at you like somebody's mugging you or holding you up. I'm talking about the general milieu of life as people in the illusionary concept experience it. We can transcend the thinking not just of myself, but of the world. The world, as the masters have referred to it, is evil, because the thinking of the world is based upon the illusion of separation. And the illusion of separation is the underlying sin that is at the cause of all of man's inhumanity to man, all of it. If you did not feel that you were separate from others, you could not do the things or think the things you do in opposition to those people and those conditions. You couldn't dump your garbage in the lake without any concern about it unless you actually believed that you were not connected to that lake, to the people that have to clean it up, to the people that might drink water from it. But when you realize that the whole world is based on that illusionary idea of separation, you realize the underlying cause of all evil. And the only way to transcend evil is to take to task your own awareness and transcend it in yourself. I wasn't going to give this talk. I don't know how I started about the basset. I just thought of the basset hound as I was coming into the wings, and I thought it was a good illustration about fear. This basset hound was never able to get over fear. As much as Norma tried to care for him and feed him, he was just edgy around even Norma, but he wouldn't come in the room with me. So we gave him away, and eventually, and this is not a happy story, he ate some roots in Norma's aunt's garden up in Syracuse, and I guess it was not good, and he died. Probably it had to happen because he was living a life of terror. And so we do too. Human beings who are not awake enough live in terror. They're worried all the time about the rent. They're always thinking that I don't know how I'm going to get by because I have to get my car fixed. And if I get my car fixed, am I really going to have enough money to do this thing with the kids, or when I have to do this? But all of it is based upon thinking that somehow or other you have no recourse in life except to be afraid and to compete and strive for the world and the things of the world, with the illusion that if I get enough money, or if I become popular or powerful enough, I will be able to get my expectations met by these other people because I'll have power. But you won't. You'll only have a more refined level of desperation, very refined. I was out in California last week. You need to come to the Sunday service. I'll resolve this in a more meaningful way. When I tell you about the luxury and the majesty and the miracle and the prestige of popularity and success. That's all going to take place on Sunday. Are you coming back on Sunday? Raise your hand. Okay. You're not turned off by the basset hound. All right. Okay. So that's when, in my misbegotten youth, I learned all the wrong things, like most of us do, but living on the other side of the tracks, the direction you take is that you steal, and you have very little regard for anything that has to do with law and order, because the whole thing looks like it's just a complete thing that they do in order to hold people in bondage to their political systems and their money, so that when you have this fear of separation, you can, like I did, I lived a life of petty crime, really petty. I did a couple of things, but not anything that would hurt anybody. But it was a terrible life, and I'll tell you why. Even the criminal characters that I hung around with, would get into trouble, and sometimes we'd get into fights ourselves. When we did a break and an entry and we're trying to split whatever little bit we got, usually not money, but goods and sweaters. Can you imagine fighting over sweaters you just stole out of a factory? Okay, that's the kind of life I grew up with. And I came to understand things. I was awake enough to see that these break-in and entries that we were doing, like we did steal a bunch of V-neck sweaters, pretty black V-neck sweaters in boxes. We just threw them out the window of this factory, and then we went down the outside fire escape and picked them up, carried them off. And it became really clear to me that we were operating on a very low level, a limited level of IQ, because the three guys actually, that I had broken into this factory with, went into the pool room the next day wearing the sweaters. And the police just pulled up and arrested them. It was only fortunate that I didn't wear my sweaters. But it was obvious to me there's something in the thinking that was missing in the people I hung around with. And so a couple of events like that led me to think maybe there's something I have to do on my own. So I became more involved in gambling and cheating on my own because I didn't feel like these guys had anything going for them. I don't know why I'm telling these stories tonight. And I'm off this whole thing. I got a whole page full of spiritual notes. Okay, let me see if I got something in here. Might help you out. Oh, listen to this. If only I had this when I was 14. God's will is your salvation. Would he not have given you the means to find it? If he wills you have it, he must have made it possible and easy to obtain it. Your brothers and sisters are everywhere. You do not have to seek for salvation. Every minute and every second gives you a chance to save yourself. Do not lose these chances, not because they will not return, but because delay of joy is needless. God wills you perfect happiness now. Is it possible that this is not also your will? And is it possible that this is not also the will of your brothers and sisters? Consider then that in this joint will you are all united, and in this only. There may be disagreement on anything else, but not on this. This then is where peace abides, and you abide in peace when you so decide. Yet you cannot abide in peace unless you accept the at-one-ment, because the at-one-ment is the way to peace. The at-one-ment is the expression that the Course in Miracles gives to the idea of being connected to everything and everyone you look at and see in your life. You have an intrinsic spiritual connection. So whatever you think and whatever you do, you see, you in a sense are doing to yourself. And you are affecting the relationship you have with everything you look upon. And so it goes on to say this. It is perfectly obvious that if the Holy Spirit looks with love on all he perceives, he looks with love on you. And just in case you may not think that this is the kind of thing they're teaching in the Bible, I'll share this with you. This is the truth we all eventually will say yes to. You can read it in the book of Acts, chapter 17, verse 26 to 28. And he, God, made from every nation of mankind to live on all the face of the earth, having determined allotted periods and boundaries of their habitation, that they should seek God in the hope that they may feel after him and find him. Yet he is not far from one of us. In him we live and move and have our being, even as some of your poets have said, for we are indeed his children. So, we are indeed the children of a Creator who says to us, your salvation is in your understanding. Right now, wherever you are. Yes, we start off thinking about heaven and God being off somewhere else, but the fact of the matter is, this intelligence that gives us life and calls us to allow our lives to become blessings in the process of living, so that the priority then is not to stop you from doing what you're doing, but to do it with the priority of you doing it with consideration, forgiveness, love, insight, and spiritual wisdom. So whatever you do, that's the priority sitting out in front of you. So if you honor that priority, your life, I guarantee this, your life, I not only promise you this, I swear you will come to this. If you do that, your life will become a life truly worth living, truly that you look forward to getting up for every morning. So we're going to do some spiritual practice. We're going to meditate. Begin by taking a couple of deep breaths. As you release your breath, release any particular cares or concerns you may be harboring and carrying with you. It's up to you. If you want to pick them up again after you leave, that's up to you. But right now, just become willing to be sitting here in this quiet sanctuary, letting this moment be a holy moment. You're here just to take in and experience your divine nature. So, as you do that, taking your breath, releasing your breath, accepting yourself, we will recognize the name of God as it was given to Moses and as it was used by Jesus in the New Testament. And we'll use that for a mantra. The name of God given to Moses, when Moses asked God, what is his name? God said, I am that I am. Go tell the children of Israel that I am has sent me. Go tell the children that I am is my name forever. And Jesus will take it, I am in you, you are in me. I am creating the consciousness in which you recognize yourself. And if how you recognize yourself is not suitable for harmony, healing love, peace, and joy, then the change must occur within. So we'll take this particular mantra. I am in you, you are in me. I am the truth, and the life and the way that will make you free. Be still and know that I am God. I am in you. You are in me. I am the truth, the life, and the way. Be still and know that I am God. I am in you. You are in me. I am the way of true life that will make you free. Be still and know that I am God. in this refined level of awareness, we will offer the names of those that have been submitted to our prayer list. As Norma calls the names of those people on our prayer list, just sustain this whole ideal of oneness and feel the peace of just being one and okay in this moment. And that will translate more to all of those who are we sharing this divine one experience with. Just sustain your level of peace.
Gaza, Cindy McCain, Faye Russell, Latita James, Rona Yunsel, Wouter Verhagen, Kimberly McGinnis, Marcus Joachim, rescuers and people rescued on Mount Everest, Hope Petrie, Loveland Emergency Shelter, factory workers able to keep their jobs, Baby Gilbert, Upbeat NYC, a music school, Harlan Pankow, Deja Amaya, Kayla, Boggs, and their 2 dogs and 2 cats of Fort Collins, Jimmy Kimmel, Jonathan Benz Bushy, American Electric Power, James Comey, Greg Schneider, Colton Mims, Noah Joyner, Harlan Hendrickson, James Van Der Beek, Sudan North Defer, Peace Support, Raheem Henry, Matthew Silverstone, Recycle, a nonprofit, Whale L. Deldo, Gaza Bureau Chief of Al-Zazar, Matthew Dowd, International Campaign for Tibet, Peter Mutabazad and his adopted children, improved child labor laws for all, Hunter and Noah Small, Ray Gabini and his dog buddy, Carlos Alberto, Macias Zarat and dog Manchus and Zarat family, 5 children of James Russell Carl and Kathy Call. Help with those in Afghanistan that were in the earthquake. Riverdale Animal Shelter and staff. World Animal Protection. Animals Asia, Retirement Home for Horses, Humane Society for the Black Hills, Colorado Humane, Max Fund, Wild Animal Sanctuary, Even Bartini and Family, Michelle Bajot, Olivia Marino Carlson, Mahmoud Kyle, Judy Kennedy and Workplace Office, Penny and Family, Donna Clinton, Angel and his dog, Bam Bam, Vernon Wedge and his dog, Lori Cowling, home in Commerce City with 35 animals and 3 kids in horrible conditions. Ludley Eberlein and Jake Cabin, Noah and Hunter Small, Wouter Verhagen's brother and girlfriend, ZH&T, Sherry and Dustin Walker, Abrego Garcia, Loic, Julie, Nim Wengi, Jean, Cody and son, Rika, Carol, Light, Canoyo, Trish and family, Astrid Belt, World Peace, Academy and City Park Daycare. Patty Perez, Steph Herbitz, Jeff Herbitz, Chad Juniper and Canyon Thies, Andrew and family, Candace, Cindy, Heather, Jacqueline, Justin and Mom, Orion and Jess, Tom and Vale, Bill, Jeremy, Brittany, Finley, Marley, Olivia, Finway the dog, and Mom, all those suffering and early recovery. Mike Foster, Kissy Siegel, Justin Siegel, Lida and Lily, Matt and Rebecca, Jess and Ricky, all who want to conceive a baby. Dan, Nick Sala, Sal and Celeste, Ruth, Lisa, Michelle, Michael, Trudy, Echoing, friends and family. Clients, migrants, immigrants, women, minorities, LGBTQ community, poor in spirit, poor in finances. Timnisha, Ruyel and family. Timothy Licklis, Kissy, Alex, Sandra Pierce, Vinny, Coco the doggy, Big Boy the cat, Doug and wife of Brightwood Music in Netherlands, Susan and Jeff of Very Nice Brewing in Netherlands, Wild Bear Nature Center volunteers and staff, Netherlands community and victims of the Caribou Shopping Center fire. And you can call out a name at this time if you would like to do so.
Sandra Perko, Sandy Spahn, D. Matthew and family, S. Casey and family, S. Daniel and family,
We see this healing light surrounding the prayer box, and all the people whose names that have been healed have been submitted throughout the month. We see them healed physically, mentally, and spiritually.
Let us take a moment to embrace the new heaven in earth, recognizing this transformation to the more magnificent level of being, as we see this occurring in the rising consciousness of everyone sharing the Boulder community with us. And we see this consciousness rising, this pristine, divine awareness, rising in the awareness of everyone sharing the state of Colorado with us. And it continues to rise in everyone throughout these United States of America. And it rises in every nation, and in every culture, and in every religion, and in every place. This consciousness of the divine, restoring the majestic harmonies of earth and bringing peace and love in the experience of humanity. As we pray, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and God is love. To this we say, Amen. We will take an offering for unity now. And to all of you that are watching this on screen somewhere, either on our website or somewhere else, you're tuning in because you're seeking some insight into things that will help you live your life more effectively, harmoniously. And you would be doing yourself the greatest possible service if you decided to support Unity of Boulder, where we actually seek to bring the truth to everyone who's open to it. So make some kind of donation, and make an occurring donation, which will be very helpful to us and certainly helpful to you. And everyone here can bring into their hands that gift they'd like to make tonight to Unity of Boulder. And we'll bless this gift in our hands with this prayer. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give. And so it is.
I've come to earth to learn to be free. Freedom's a state of mind. My mind chooses to be free. I've come to earth to learn to be free. Freedom's a state of mind. My mind chooses to be free.
Join me now, please. We dedicate this tithe to the will and the work of the Spirit of truth, the Spirit available to each of us, the Spirit that joins all of us. We dedicate this tithe to the victory of the Spirit of truth. Amen.
The gift and bookstore is open, and we have refreshments. If you would like to meet us there, we'll be there in just a few minutes. To the left.
And just, if you happen to be new and raise your hand, you're going to be at the Sunday service. That service is at 9 a.m. The second service is different. So if you're coming to hear what I mentioned we will be dealing with, then show up at 9 a.m. sober. Everyone, have a beautiful evening.